I'm going to take you through the entire process of maximizing your shop space. Free plans for everything on the screen are listed in the description. Etsy wants you to pay $10 for this plan alone. It just holds hammers. And if I add anything to my French Cleat System down the road, I'll update the plans as well. I bought a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood to use for the rails and all of the cool tool holders that I'm going to be putting up on that wall. I'm going to rip it down into 4 2-foot by 4-foot sheets so that they're easily manageable with my table saw. First, I removed all non-essential items from behind my workbench. Looks pretty bare. I ripped 6 pieces of our plywood down to 5 inches on the table saw. This next step, we are setting the table saw blade to 45 degrees, and we need to find the center of our 5-inch board, measuring in 2.5 inches, finding the center of our 3/4 inch material, and you put a little crosshair there. Take your square, line it up, draw your line. That is where the saw blade needs to intersect. And I'll just tell you what the fence setting is here in a second. What a waste of time. So I set the fence at 2 inches and ripped down my 6 boards, giving me 12 pieces. This is both for the rails and the support cleats when we build the organizers. And right here, just sanding the edges and change the oil. Wait, what? Then I added a few recesses to countersink my screws. I measured in 2 inches from each end and then just put one every 12 inch on the mark in the middle. I'm staining mine darker to match the black walnut accents. Yummy. Hanging on OSB is quite simple. If you have drywall, you'll want to screw into the studs behind. If you have concrete walls, you'll have to pilot some anchors and add 1x2s to the wall and screw into those strips. With OSB, you can really screw anywhere as long as you don't hit any electrical. I also added the rails behind my miter saw, even though there were a few complications. Let's give these tape measures a spot to live. Okay, just this many. I'll keep a few in reserve on the metal ruler holders by the saws. I ripped a piece down to 4.5 inches and sliced 2 pieces down to 8.5 inches. And 2 more pieces at 5 1/4 inch. Then I decided to miter a 45 on the corners so it was less boxy. Cut 2 cleat pieces at 3 inches, or the total length of the back if you wish. This is the only time I'm going to bring up sanding. It's happening to all of the projects. Deal with it. Assembly is simply some glue and nails, no fancy screws or anything. The glue is plenty to hold these projects together. Be careful not to use too much glue or it will squeeze out of all the sides, especially if you plan to stain these projects. There she is. I don't want to hang it up until the glue sets up for the cleats. With your 4.5 inch cut, slice up 2 pieces at 5 inches long, and another to your desired length. Mine is 8.5 inches. Follow the plans to map out and cut the pieces correctly. You can achieve this with a jigsaw. And again, we're just assembling with some nails and glue. Be sure that the screwdriver cutout is closest to the front, not the back. We need to allow space for the cleat. And I might have messed mine up. This screw holder is made with some jelly jars because they were cheaper than the plastic organizer jars. Empty out the jars after a quick taste test. Now I can see why they were on clearance. Copycat the screwdriver holder's sides. I am making the top of mine to be 12 inches long. That is just to fit the jars that I currently have. Drill a few holes in the lids and secure them to the bottom of the board. I left mine closer to the front to allow room for the cleat. Glue and nail it the same way we did the screwdriver holder. Bam! Little container organizer. With our 4.5 inch wide piece, cut 2 pieces at 7 3/4 inch. Again, I added the little mitered corner. Then I cut a 4.5 inch piece to 10 inches long. And I ripped a board to 2.5 inches and cut 2 pieces at 10 inches from that. Cut 2 3-inch pieces of the cleat. Straightforward assembly. You can use screws for added strength since these can be quite heavy. I'm just using the good old glue and nail tactic. It's kind of my one move. I took a 4.5 inch board, made a square, found the center, and rounded the front 2 corners off. Then I added the 3/4 inch spacing to the back. Only cut out 1 hole, and those pieces should look like this. Then I trimmed a 4.5 inch piece to 6 inches and one more at 2 inches, and cut a cleat to 4.5 inches. Now you see where that 2-inch piece of wood comes into play. Wait. Oh, it looks like a freaking toilet. I ripped a board to 7 inches and cut 2 pieces at 7 3/4 of an inch. Add the miters and cut another piece at 13 3/4 of an inch. Find a piece of dowel minus 7/8 of an inch. Measure in 3 inches both ways from your cleat and drill a hole to match your dowel. Cut your cleat to 13 3/4 of an inch. Same with your dowel rod. And assemble. Be careful since one of the sides is 7 inches and the other is 7 3/4 of an inch. We don't want any boo-boos. And yes, the cleat attaches to the back, not that fancy nice top board that we've added. This just adds a little bit more storage. First, I laid out the plans how I like them and cut a board to accommodate a piece of 3/4 inch plywood between each one. Then I drew a line at 15 degrees. Finished off the 90 degree to make it 2 pieces, and then cut the 2 pieces apart and added the cleats to the back. I ripped a 2-inch strip for around the border, a little glue and nails for it. Then I found out how high to place the back plate with a complex and very intricate mathematical equation, and a pencil. For these cleats, I am attaching them with pocket screws, just to secure them with a little more strength. Then I ripped a few slivers to 7/8 of an inch for the interior spaces and didn't record any of it. Sorry guys. Nail and glue it together, and that's the prettiest thing in this workshop right now. My dry erase board, I just rebuilt the frame to fit the old dry erase board that used to be on that wall. I am not explaining picture frames in this video. I have a very in-depth video about picture frames as well. I'll link it in the description, so you can go and make yourself a picture frame dry erase board. French Cleat vs. Peg Board. I found an extremely helpful website. I put a link in the description. French cleats hold more weight, are easier to organize, are fully customizable, and they look better. They also don't have those annoying pegs that rip out. They are usually cheaper to build and provide a higher level of customization because you probably have the tools and the wood to build them right now. They have a cleaner look, and it's easier to rearrange than those pesky pegboard hooks, which is a lot like siding. If you want to move the bottom piece, you're going to have to remove all the pieces above it first. Do you know how many holes are in a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of pegboard? I'll let you guess in the comments, but here's a hint. It's over 4,000. You used to just look at tape measures back behind me. Now after this project, you'll be staring at French Cleat. This isn't even a drop of water in the melting icebergs of things that you could make to organize your tools using a French Cleat system. Hopefully this video has helped you guys start your French Cleat adventure, and I'm very glad that I upgraded. If you choose to make this or anything else from the website, give me a shout out on social media. I am very active in all of the woodworking Facebook groups, and I just can't post it myself because it's self-promotion. I'll get kicked out. But you can post it. Help me get a little bit of awareness.